In the U.S. airline industry, the Big Three, United Airlines, American Airlines, and Delta Airlines, operate in one of the most classic examples of an oligopoly. These carriers rarely differentiate themselves on pricing or on-board product. In fact, when one makes a change, be it eliminating change fees or introducing free Wi-Fi, the others quickly follow suit. From legroom and snacks to lounges and loyalty programs, they tend to offer nearly identical experiences. This mimicry is not accidental. It's strategic, because price competition can be mutually destructive and product differences are difficult to maintain. The Big Three airlines have found a different battleground network strategy. The one arena they truly compete in where they diverge, subtly but significantly, is in how they design their networks. Beneath the similar facades of aircraft interiors and fare structures lies a world of nuance in where each airline flies and why. And no airline leans into this more than United Airlines. United has carved out a distinctive niche by taking bold, data-defying risks with its route planning, a contrast to the more conservative strategies of Delta and American. While its rivals stick to high-yield proven routes, United bets on the unknown. Sometimes it wins, sometimes it retreats, but over time, it has developed a sprawling, deep global network unmatched by its competitors. United's bet on unlikely markets, Anchorage to DC and beyond. Consider United's Anchorage, ANC to Washington, D.C. SAIADV seasonal summer service. On paper, the route made little sense. DC is a poor connecting hub for flights to Alaska. It's at the very edge of a Boeing 737 MAX range, and it delivers poor aircraft economics due to fuel and payload limitations. Yet United launched it anyway, wagering that the local market would support the flight. It did, and the road is back for summer 2025. This kind of risk-taking characterizes United's approach. The airline is willing to fly routes that others wouldn't dare touch, hoping to induce demand and corner niche markets before others catch up. Breadth over depth. United's global footprint, despite flying fewer daily flights and carrying fewer annual passengers than Delta or American, United serves the most destinations. This speaks to their strategy: breadth over depth. They fly to places others don't. Not just obscure domestic destinations like Devil's Lake, North Dakota or Farmington, New Mexico, but also global cities underserved by U.S. carriers. Year-round flights to leisure, heavy destinations like Edinburgh, Gunnison, or Auckland, which American and Delta only serve seasonally, show United's belief in sustaining thin but steady demand. The most striking manifestation of this philosophy lies in its long-haul international portfolio. The global game. United dominates in long-haul diversity. American Airlines serves just 26 long-haul destinations. Delta serves 41, United a whopping 58, with an emphasis not just on quantity but uniqueness. United is often the only U.S. carrier flying to cities like Christchurch, New Zealand or Osaka, Japan. United, American, and Delta Airlines all offer remarkably similar products. Same legroom, same snacks, same lounges, and even similar reliability. This isn't accidental, it's strategic. These three legacy carriers operate in one of the clearest examples of an oligopoly in modern business. When one airline eliminates change fees, the others follow. When one introduces free Wi-Fi, the others do the same. Even price hikes, such as baggage fees, tend to happen in unison. Competing directly on price or product is viewed as mutually destructive, so instead, they converge. This leaves one crucial space where they compete: route networks. Here, subtle yet significant differences begin to emerge. At a glance, their route maps might look comparable, but under the surface, each airline has adopted a different strategic approach to edge out competitors. United Airlines, in particular, has distinguished itself through a willingness to take calculated risks and invest in route diversity rather than frequency. A good example of this is United's summer seasonal nonstop route from Washington, D.C. to Anchorage, Alaska. On paper, it seems like a poor choice. D.C. is not a great connecting point for flights to Alaska. Chicago or Denver would be better. The route pushes the range limitations of the Boeing 737 MAX 8, affecting performance and economics. Yet United launched it anyway, counting on enough point-to-point demand from DC residents and Alaska-bound tourists. That bet paid off. The route is returning in 2025. This decision underscores a core part of United's strategy, a high tolerance for risk in the name of network depth. United serves fewer passengers and operates fewer flights than its main rivals, yet it reaches more destinations. That means flying to places others don't even consider. It manifests in small U.S. airports like Devil's Lake and Farmington, and in major international cities served year-round instead of seasonally, such as Edinburgh, Auckland, and Cape Town. Nowhere is United's network strategy more distinct than in its long-haul international service. American Airlines flies to 26 international destinations, mostly to Europe, with limited reach into Asia and Oceania. Delta does a bit more, 41 long-haul destinations, but many are seasonal with only a handful in Africa or the Pacific. United, meanwhile, flies to 58 long-haul cities and tends to serve them year-round. It connects to major destinations, but also ventures into less conventional ones. While Delta and American both fly to Auckland, United is alone in flying nonstop to Christchurch. That's not just a logistical move, it's a strategic one. There's often not enough historical booking data to justify launching routes to these lesser-known places. Tourists traveling to New Zealand traditionally book into Auckland and figure out how to get to the South Island from there, whether by rental car or domestic flight. United flipped that model, offering a direct way to reach the South Island from North America. That kind of service doesn't just capture existing demand. It creates new demand by giving travelers new planning options. The same theory supports United's flights to places like Tahiti and Cape Town. The routes are heavily leisure-focused, but the airline has proven it can make them work. Another example of this philosophy is unfolding in the Pacific. United has a long-standing presence in Guam, where it bases narrow-body aircraft and crews. As tourism from Japan to Guam slowed post-COVID due to economic factors like exchange rates, United pivoted. Rather than reduce its presence, it began using Guam-based aircraft to launch narrow-body routes deeper into Asia, turning Tokyo Narita into a kind of unofficial mini-hub. New flights to cities like Cebu, Kaohsiung, and Ulaanbaatar connect seamlessly with United's long-haul arrivals from the U.S., allowing same-day connections and eliminating the need for overnights in Tokyo. These are markets where no other U.S. airline, and not even United's local partners, were offering well-timed flights. By providing an end-to-end itinerary on its own metal, United not only captures travelers, but also builds brand familiarity and trust among passengers who might be hesitant to fly on foreign airlines. The early success of this approach has prompted United to expand even further, announcing new routes from Hong Kong to Bangkok and Ho Chi Minh City, this time using long-haul widebodies like the Boeing 787. United's bold network strategy is often shaped by the limitations of its alliance partners. In Europe, for example, it works closely with the Lufthansa Group under a transatlantic joint venture. But Lufthansa's hubs, in Frankfurt, Munich, and Zurich, are far from the western edge of Europe, making them less convenient for many UST-bound travelers compared to London's. American's BA partnered or Paris and Amsterdam's, Delta's Air France, KLM partners. To compensate for these geographical inefficiencies, United has launched direct flights to cities like Faro, Malaga, and Tenerife, destinations underserved by Lufthansa and unreachable by easy connections through Frankfurt. In these cases, United becomes the fastest, and sometimes the only, transatlantic option. It tried expanding eastward too, flying to cities like Prague and Hamburg, but those routes failed. However, in the southwest of Europe, United is increasingly the dominant U.S. carrier. This same strategic thinking has been applied across the Pacific. United is the only U.S. airline flying nonstop to cities like Adelaide, Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh City, Cebu, Singapore, Osaka, and Ulaanbaatar. That gives them an outsized advantage in a part of the world where U.S. airlines have traditionally had weak coverage. All of this positions United well for the current moment. The fastest growing segment of U.S. air travel is long-haul international leisure travel, and United, more than any of its domestic rivals, has aggressively positioned itself to serve that demand. By targeting routes no one else flies, and having the patience to build demand where it didn't exist before, United has become the boldest network strategist in the U.S. airline industry. American Airlines, by contrast, focuses more on density than reach. It's the largest U.S. airline by passenger count, but it takes fewer risks. It flies where it must, rarely where it could. That conservative approach has worked for American domestically, but it has left the airline vulnerable internationally, especially as the post-pandemic travel surge leans more heavily toward global adventure than domestic necessity. Delta sits somewhere in between. It is thoughtful, data-driven, and deliberate in expanding its international footprint. But compared to United's global web of service, even Delta's robust network appears cautious. Ultimately, United's willingness to embrace uncertainty, experiment with new markets, and learn from failure is what sets it apart. In a highly synchronized and uniform domestic industry, United's global strategy stands as a bold anomaly, one that could define the future of U.S. long-haul travel.